Hello world. I want to share with you a solution to the problem of leaf miners. Those pesky little creatures that basically eat the innards out of all the leaves of all the leafy vegetables you try to grow in your garden. If you're like me, you search the internet and the only solutions they came up with was to pick the infected leaves off and dispose of them, or use some malathion type spray to poison them. I tried the former idea and it doesn't work. You can pick leaves off till you're green in the face and they could keep coming back. And the latter just wasn't acceptable to me to use spray on my leafy vegetables that I was going to cook up and eat. So here's a quick overview on the leaf miner problem, and I've got it bad. This is a Swiss chard here that is badly infected with leaf miners. They get into my chard, they get into my beets, and their life cycle is this little white egg sac, which is laid by a fly. I don't know if you can see it there. And then the larvae hatch and they eat through the leaf, in the interstitial of the leaf, rapidly devouring it, and then drop out as pupa onto the ground, make flies, and fly on to repeat the process. And they're very problematic, and you can see my chard, my beets are just getting destroyed by them. So what I thought a couple years ago, actually last year, is maybe I could interrupt their reproduction cycle by netting them so that the flies couldn't get at them. So my first year I started off with this simple redwood box that I stapled screen to. I grew Swiss chard in it and it worked just great. The flies never got in. The eggs never got laid on the leaves, the larvae didn't hatch, and I was successful in growing Swiss chard. This year I upgraded to these, if you can see them there, and I had some raised beds and I just put a wooden frame over them, bent some thin wall PVC tubing and stretched just ordinary window screen over them. And things aren't growing real well in here, but if you look close, no leaf miners. That's beets, Swiss chard, more beets over here. And so after my success with previous two, I went to these versions here, kind of getting buried in the pumpkins and the tomatoes, and I need to clear them out. So these are made out of just that same half-inch, this is thin wall PVC tubing, 5-foot, I believe, roll of window screening. You can buy it in 30 and 100-foot lengths, and it's stapled at one side just to a thin piece of wood. I've screwed the ends down, and then they go on with these clips, which are carefully made on a table saw. Just cut one side out of the pipe on a table saw, and then cut them up in little pieces, and they just snap over the original piping. This is a 3/4 inch by 1/2 inch T that can actually just slide over into position where you want it. There's a lot of videos on how to build these things. And on the sides, I did not attach the weighted piece of wood at the bottom so that I can open it up to get at my things inside for weeding and watering. I'm having an issue here because the pumpkins are starting to shade them. I really need to just cut those things out of there. But they're doing great. I have no leaf miners inside here. The screening does cut down on the light some, and because I'm kind of down in the trees anyway, it makes it a little more difficult for me to get adequate light to them. And again, I made it worse by not getting rid of the pumpkin vines. But they're growing great. The curious thing is, I even made the mistake of leaving the screen open like that after watering for several hours. The seams, the closures on them, are by no means fly tight. Flies could find ways to get in there, but curiously they don't. And I have had absolutely no leaf miners on any of my Swiss chard or beets, and I'm delighted, and I just wanted to share it with you. Here's a poison-free way to control leaf miners. I am having the annoying problem of powdery mildew now on my chard, So I may not get to eat it anyway. But that is not unique to the Swiss chard growing inside the boxes. It's actually on the chard growing out in the garden too. So that's a different problem, and if I find an answer to that, I will share it as well. So I hope that video was helpful. Good luck controlling your leaf miners. Best of luck with your gardening. If you have questions about how to construct any of this, and you can figure out how to leave it a question for me on my site, by all means do. I'll do my best to answer it. I was a little sketchy on the actual construction. Good luck.